Hello, amazing ladies. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mireille Thériault. I go by Mireille Nicole in my coaching practice, and I'm a relationship coach for women who are looking for their happily ever after, whether they're already married in a relationship, but they just have some struggles. They're looking to overcome certain challenges to make it great, make it better, reignite that flame, or maybe they're dating. They're still looking for that Mr. Right, and they're looking for that guidance to really win his heart and keep his heart. I am so excited because in today's video, we are going to be talking about empathy versus codependency. And this is a topic that's been on my mind for a while now. It's something that I see in a lot of the women that come to me and also just in general in my life. So obviously, I'm going to talk about this topic when it comes to relationships, but codependency, empathy are things that we experience in all aspects of our life, right? So I encourage you, as you watch this video, to not only think about it in terms of your relationship, but also even the broader picture in terms of how being empathetic versus being codependent is affecting other areas of your life. But first, before I dive in, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so now. Hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell. All right, let's dive in by first talking about what is the difference between empathy and codependency. When we think of empathy, and guys, I'm talking, or I should say ladies, I'm talking from my own perspective a lot on this, okay, on this topic, because this is something I struggle with. And a lot of us identify as empathetic, and this is seen as something virtuous, right? It's something that's really honorable to be able to picture yourself, put yourself in someone else's shoes and kind of understand their position or where they're coming from. And for sure, there is a lot of benefit, value in that from a relationship, building skill perspective, any kind of romantic relationship or non-romantic relationship. But at the same time, where it gets tricky is when we start leaning from more being empathetic to being codependent. And that's what I want to talk about today. And let me start by, first of all, distinguishing between the two. So empathetic, obviously, like I said before, you can put yourself in the person's shoes, you can identify, you can somewhat relate to what the other person is going through, and that can be very draining. So when you find yourself in situations where if you're really in tune to your own emotions, other people's emotions, when you're empathetic, you will feel them. You will be able to spot them, identify them, whatever word you want to use, right? But when you're truly empathetic, even though it might drain you, you need to recharge at the end of the day, it feels like a lot. The difference is that you are able to not take on those emotions, right? You feel them, they're there, they're around you, they're maybe weighing heavily on you, but at the end of the day, they don't necessarily affect they don't necessarily affect your emotional state, right? Or the emotions that you're experiencing. You are able to keep that distinction, that sense of unique self in the face of all these emotions going around you, right? Whereas when you're codependent, the difference is, again, you're probably feeling everyone's emotions, right? You're going to feel other people's emotions. But in those situations of more codependency, that's where you start taking the emotions on, right? Someone else is frustrated, it starts making you frustrated. In a relationship, your man gets defensive, you start feeling defensive. You start taking these emotions on. And that's going to be the big distinguishing factor in terms of really identifying what's going on with your own emotions, right? And it comes back to the whole idea of emotional intelligence. You have these emotions, how do you handle them? And in this particular case, on this particular topic, to what extent do you get sucked in to other people's emotions and do you take them on? And like I said, this is something that really hits home for me because for a long time, I thought I was simply empathetic. I thought I had a lot of empathy and that was a good thing, right? But then I realized when I started digging deeper, and that's why I want to say, like, be careful in terms of making empathy being so virtuous, right? Because it can prevent us from digging deeper and seeing, okay, is this a good thing? Am I maybe too empathetic, right? Am I leaning more towards the codependency as opposed to the empathetic? Is this stopping us from really taking responsibility for our own emotions? So yeah, just make sure to pull back and be able to look at that, because I know for myself for a long time, I thought I was just empathetic, and then started really realizing when I stopped and sat down and looked at it, I was actually more codependent. And like I said earlier on, a lot of times when we think of codependency, we think of very serious issues in relationships. So we're talking about like addiction, abuse, big T traumas, but small T traumas, any kind of traumas on the spectrum can lead to codependent tendencies, or any kind of childhood situations or experiences along the way can make it so that we have this need, or not this need, but this susceptibility to take on other people's emotions, right? So when I realized that I was giving a lot of my power away to other people in terms of, or in the case of relationships, right? My husband, back then boyfriend, had a huge influence on my emotions. I needed him to feel, when he wasn't feeling good, I wasn't feeling good. And that was huge. So why is this important though when it comes to relationships? Like I said a bit earlier, when it comes to having this entanglement with other people's emotions, it can take our power away. If the other person is not feeling good and then it makes us not feel good, this is when we can struggle with putting ourselves first, right? We lose our power. We might feel down. We might feel discouraged. We might take it personally, which stops us from starting to do the things that we want to do, or to keep doing the things that we want to do, right? Instead of going to the gym, we might get discouraged and use it as a justification for just staying at home and just crashing in front of Netflix and eating potato chips or whatever, right? Whatever your deal is. Or it can put you in a situation where maybe you start feeling less confident in other aspects of your life, right? Subconsciously, you might not be realizing that you're taking on other people's emotions, but at a deeper level, there's something that knows, right? Something that knows that you need these external circumstances around you to be good for you to also feel good. You'll want to look at this from all sorts of different areas of your life too, right? Because if you start taking on other people's emotions, which brings you down, it makes it harder also if you're a mother, right? Not only in romantic relationships, but for doing things around the house, or even for things at work, working on your business, right? Achieving your goals. When we take on other people's emotions, it really starts taking control of us. The second reason you'll want to pay attention whether or not you are leaning more towards the empathy side of things or the codependency side of things is to maintain that polarity, that magnetism in relationships. I've talked about it a lot before, where if you really want to maintain that harmony, that attraction, that fire in the relationship, you're going to want to a certain extent, maintain different polarity, right? There's got to be, yin and yang, some differences. So when you take on the emotions of the other person in the relationship, then you guys are just both getting dragged down, right? Whereas if one of you can really handle those emotions differently and really take a step back, then you're actually working together and helping each other out. And there is nothing more attractive, right, than a woman that can make herself happy, that can stay happy, that can do the things that really make her shine, right? That's going to be extremely attractive to a man. Now, obviously, if you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling happy, if something's bringing you down, I'm not suggesting that you completely bypass that and ignore that, okay, or cram it down even deeper. I'm just inviting you to really take a close look. Is the situation something that's really happening to me? Is this really about me? Or am I taking on what's going on for other people? Right? So that's going to be the distinction right there. That's going to be the number one question you want to ask yourself. Is this really about me? Right? And then you can go down deeper and deeper and deeper and really explore what's going on there. But there's going to be nothing more attractive, like I said, than someone who can manage their emotions in times where maybe the things going around you aren't going so well, but you can recognize this is not about you and then move on and keep putting yourself first. And at the end of the day, everyone's going to benefit from that, right? Because it's going to help the other person. You're in a better position to support the other person who's going through these emotions, being there when they come out, or just giving them their space, right, to manage it, to go through it, and not putting that added pressure on them to also have to not only deal with their own emotions, but now the repercussions of their emotions on you you also. And the last thing I wanted to mention about this is more of a quote actually from Dyer. And I've shared this before, I think in my stories, if you follow me, because it had a really big impact on me. And I love to think about this quote, especially when I'm starting to feel, other people's emotions and I start falling back in that trap, right? Because sometimes I can find myself slowly falling back into it. This is work for through your whole life, right? It's never going to be perfect. This is stuff you work on yourself all the time. There's always going to be a different situation, a different emotion, a different person, a different scenario that's going to try to throw you off, right? But with each experience, you get stronger and stronger. So in this quote, Dyer says, if you expect, and I'm totally paraphrasing this is probably not at all the words he used, but it's the essence that counts. If you rely on other people to be happy or to feel good for you to feel good, you're going to have to hire a psychologist for every single person on the planet in order for you to be okay. So think about that. Sit with that for a second, right? If you expect other people to make you feel good or other people to feel good for you to feel good, you're going to have to hire someone for every single person on the planet. Okay, just so that you can be okay. Super powerful stuff. So just food for thought for you today on that. Let me know in the comments, does this resonate with you? Is this something you needed to hear today? Where do you find yourself on the spectrum? And you notice sometimes that you might be swaying a little bit too much towards the codependency side. And this is not intended to create any kind of shame or blame or guilt. This is all about awareness, because awareness is the number one step in emotional intelligence, and moving the needle on your emotional intelligence is to be able to observe, to recognize, to be aware, to accept after, right? And then to start handling them. And that's a whole other topic. If you want support on that, that is one of the pillars of what I coach women through when it comes to relationships, because it's one thing to have the relationship skills, but when our emotional world is just all over the place, it's going to hold us back from doing the things, right? It's going to hold us back from doing the things that we need to do in order to make our relationship as amazing as it can be. And one of the other things that comes up a lot, actually, I'll just mention here before I hop off, is that a lot of times women come to me and it might feel really overwhelming, heavy, onerous to be doing this work, especially when it comes to emotions, because as women, we're really emotional beings. We are meant to be into our feeling, into our emotions. So it can feel like a lot. But remember, what you're feeling right now is from the perspective of where you are. When you start doing the work, it feels a lot lighter. And the more you can manage your emotions, the more they come out of you, right? They don't stick, they don't stay inside to weigh you down. All right. So a lot of women come to me and they're ready to work on the skills, they're ready to do the things, but don't realize in that moment that they have this emotional baggage that's holding them down, that's preventing them from taking action. Because the skills are often going to be the easy part. What's going to be hard is removing the barriers that you've created for yourself, the beliefs that stem from these emotions that lead to a certain action or inaction that creates a reaction, creates an experience, creates a belief, thinking, a thought, feeling, etc. And the whole circle goes round and around and around. And you find yourself in this pattern and in this programming. And you're like, why the heck does this keep happening to me? Why the heck do I find myself in the same situation? So really excited to be sharing with you guys soon. I have a new program coming out. If you want help with this, we are working through this whole emotional aspect when it comes to relationships in weeks 2 and 3. If you prefer one-on-one guidance, don't be shy to reach out to me in the comments. I have the info where to reach me, and we can always do just a free call one-on-one to see where you're at, if and how I can help you. So I hope this was super valuable. Let me know in the comments what you think. Take care, and I will talk to you ladies next time.